3 qualifying heats down, 6 to go here for the final round of the Rotax Max Euro Trophy season being held here in Wackersdorf. And it's the second of 3 qualifying heats for the Junior Max division. Your grid for Heat 2, Groups B and C is as follows. Maurice Schuring from the Netherlands and Danny van Dijk making an all-Dutch front row. Ahead of Nikita Genzer in the 226 and Austria's Charlie Wirtz in the 251 rounding out row 2. Christian de Klein in the 299 and Jeffrey Fixer in the 255, that's row 3. Flint Schuring in the 216 will have alongside fellow JJ racing driver and the defending Junior Max champion Mike van Vugt in the 217. Marcel Heisenberger and Belgium's Kai Rielerts round out the top 10 positions with the 209 and the 274 completing row number 5. Then Ethan Kurtzi will start from 11th and we'll have title protagonist Sweden's Vilgard Edqvist in the 231 from Strawberry Racing alongside on row number 6. Lucas Schoenmakers and Tobias Poschik in the 204 and the 221. That's row 7, and the 8th and final row will be comprised of Dante Rapagni in the 243 with Alexander Abskava from Georgia in the 212. The red lights are once again on the starting gantry. 7 minutes are set on the timer, plus 1 additional lap. So it will be down to both Schuring and Van Dijk to control the pace, heading into the latter stage of the race formation. So they come through turn 12 over the slight hump that heads into the double right-hander at turns 13 and 14. So the first Junior Max heat, actually the first heat of the weekend, had a full start. Let's see if the second one is a lot cleaner. They head into the tram lines for heat number 2. Do we go lights out? Yes! And it's side by side between the top 6 heading through turn 1 and 2 and then into 3. There's a little bit of jostling for position, a little bit of barging there, and there is a multi-car incident that has compromised several other drivers, and it's 3 at least. And Edqvist has absolutely flown up the order. He's now up into 5th position. That's a brilliant start from the Swede. He started down in 12th. Everyone started tripping over each other, and the Swede just capitalized. And Mike van Vugt already up into 3rd place. And it's going to start hounding, well, 2 current teammates. Danny van Dijk is ahead in the 256 as Vilgard Edqvist goes up the inside of Charlie Wirtz to take 4th position away from the young Austrian. And at the moment, leading the field, it will be the number 214 of Maurice Schuring. But it won't be a case of if, it's going to be a case of how and when Mike van Vugt gets past them. And he gets past Danny van Dijk with consummate ease through turn 4. But Van Dijk is not letting Van Vugt go at all. He wants to be in the top 2. He wants to even get a heat win. As there's a 3-way brawl through turn number 6, which involved, looks like Schoenmakers trying to go at up the inside of Kai Rielerts. So Rielerts having to fend off all comers and has just been passed by the 258 of Ethan Kurtzi, which puts Kai Rielerts down a little bit further down the order with Dante Rapagni all the way down in last position. As Vilgard Edqvist is pulling along Charlie Wirtz with him. So that's 4th and 5th there behind Danny van Dijk, but not for much longer as Edqvist sizes up the move through turn 2, makes the move stick, and here goes Wirtz as well. Nice job by the young Austrian. So Danny van Dijk within 3 corners, drops from 3rd to 5th, and right behind is the 212 of Georgia's Alexander Abskava, who started on 16th and stone dead last. So with the initial first lap incident, meaning that Dante Rapagni would end up back at the back part of the field, as well as several other drivers moving down the order rather than up it. As now Schuring coming under pressure, not just from Van Vugt, but Edqvist is closing. They come through the final double right-hander through turn 14. Van Vugt is on the move. Is he going to go for it? No, very wise, but tries to make the issue happen and does so through turn 2. Saw that daylight at the end of the tunnel and measured it perfectly and got the momentum carry through turn 3. So Van Voort leads a JJ Racing 1-2 with Morris Schuring just behind. Then it's got Edquist. There's a little bit of side pod barging between a couple of drivers a little bit further down the order. It's very close indeed. And oh no, Morris Schuring has dropped all the way down behind Nikita Genza. So Schuring was on pole position, now outside of the top 10. So not too sure what happened there, but Van Voort has just been given a black and white warning flag. And there has been a time penalty issued, and that has been given to Flint Schuring, currently running in 6th position. So at the moment, the 2:17 of Mike Van Voort continues to lead. They've got Edquist second. Charlie Wirtz, who's actually switched to KMS Europe this time, really putting on a great show, is the young Austrian. And then he's got Alexander Abskava from Georgia. So we have 4 different nationalities in the top 5, and the top 5 being closed by Danny Van Dyke. So the lead now is just over 0.6 of a second between Van Voort and Edquist. And Edquist only goes 1/100th of a second quicker, as there is a great behind the top 5. There has been quite a few changes, and it's happened between turns 3, 4, 5. Oh, bit of tussling there through 6. And that looks to be Christian de Klein involved in the wars with the likes of Reisenberger, Schoenmakers, and Jeffrey Fixer, I believe. So great dice for positional battles there, but Van Voort now pulling away. He's got a gap of around 0.6 of a second, but remember what happened in Kristianstad. There is 4 points separating both Van Voort, who's leading, and Edquist in second. The qualification heats are paramount to their group positions tomorrow. Now, there was a warning board issued to Mike Van Voort. Flint Schuring gets a 3-second time penalty. All results are provisional pending any sporting and technical checks that are done post-race. So Van Voort looks to have a bit more of the legs trying to get away from they've got Edquist. Great showing from Charlie Wirtz up into 3rd position. Alexander Abskava keeping the young Austrian honest with Danny Van Dyke, definitely making sure that he wants to do his very best in this season. And I definitely know that 2 of them are very much regulars in the B&L karting series, which Van Voort did win last year and is currently leading the standings in that. Lead now between Van Voort and Edquist, now down to just under 0.6 of a second, as Edquist was just over 40 hundredths quicker than Van Voort. But it's not enough for Edquist to make a sizable attack on Van Voort. But Abskava, who looks to be in Dan Holland Racing colours, I believe that. Yep, he is. And he's keeping pace with Charlie Wirtz. And last time around, they said exactly the same lap time, a 51.148. So at the moment, the order is as follows. It's Van Voort, Edquist, Wirtz. Seems like there's a nice little change there while Schuring's trying to get his way back up the order. He must have just got past Christian de Klein there. That would be for 8th place. As well, there's definitely a scrap going on behind Schuring in the 2:16. There's 4 of them involved, and they're trading places like it's going out of fashion. And the one leading that is the 2:99 of Christian de Klein, but alongside it's Poshik in the 2:21, and it's 3 wide going into turn 3. How do they make it through there? Great work by our camera crew here at Wackersdorf. That's absolutely brilliant. We are now on the penultimate lap of the race. And even though Van Voort is comfortably leading by about 3/4 of a second from Vilgot Edquist, Charlie Wirtz in 3rd, Alexander Abskava and Danny Van Dyke rounding out the top 5. The real battle that's going on is for roundabout from the 2:26 onwards, which is Nikita Genza. You've got Poshik, Reisenberger, probably the other Schuring, Flint Schuring, and also Kai Hillertz has got a bit more pace now in the 2:74. So last lap board it is, as this battle is still going on. This is great racecraft from the Junior Max division down at the bottom part of the field as Morris Schuring goes up the inside of Kai Hielertz, as does Ethan Kurtzy, with Dante Rapagni a bit further down the order. But now Van Voost has managed to control this gap. Needed to do enough, but not to allow Vilgot Edqvist to close up on him. And Wirtz and Abscava have really come alive in their first qualifying heat. Well, Wirtz was has had his fair shares of trials and tribulations, but Van Voost takes the win in heat number 2. Edqvist finishes nearly 9/10 of a second behind, as the battle still rages on a little bit further down the field. Poshik is having to fend off the 214 of Schuring and manages to not even get that close. It was very, very close indeed between the pair, but Van Voost takes a win to start his bid for a second consecutive Euro Trophy Junior Max title. Takes it by nearly 9/10 of a second from Vilgot Edqvist. Charlie Wirtz takes a well-deserved third ahead of Alexander Abscava, who, having made the switch to Dan Holland Racing, really has come to credence here in this first heat, the second heat of the afternoon for Junior Max. Danny Van Dyke rounds out the top 5 ahead of Lukas Schoenmakers, Jeffrey Fixer, Nikita Genza, Flint Schuring, who ended up 9th, but had a 3-second time penalty for leaving the track with 2 wheels off it. Christian de Klein in 10th ahead of Tobias Poshik, Morris Schuring, Ethan Kurtzy, Kai Hielertz, Marcel Heisenberger and Dante Rapagni rounding out the 16 strong.